Hey, hello everybody. It's Travel Tip Tuesday webinar time, and today it is going to be on Alaska and Alaska cruising with Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines. So, uh, Alaska's truly been one of my favorite destinations in the world. I do talks all the time about my favorite places in the world to go to, and when you talk scenery, arguably there's not too many places more spectacular than Alaska. When you talk wildlife, when you consider um, the whales, the bear, the fox, the all the birds, the puffins. Puffins, the state bird of Alaska, and you'll see why when you go there. But there's so much to see up there, so much to do, and it's a short season. So we really believe Alaska is going to be one of the top destinations for next year. We believe a lot of the people that took future cruise credits that didn't get to go to Alaska this year are going to take it for next year. We believe a lot of people that maybe have future cruise credits or had plans to go to Europe or Asia or wherever in the world may change their plans. And I think Alaska will be a destination that will be very popular. We're already seeing that. Abe Hughes, the Royal Caribbean representative, is going to talk about this tonight. But a couple little things I wanted to share with you. Our staff is very definitely experts when it comes to the Alaska destination. And by the way, there's so many options. Oh my gosh, so many options, whether you want to cruise round trip, from Seattle or Vancouver, whether you want to go north from either Seattle or Vancouver, whether you want to go south, from Whittier or Seward down to Vancouver. Lots and lots of options. Then when it comes to the tours that you add to the cruises, that's really when expertise from our staff comes in, because there's lots of options there. And the one rule of thumb I always give everybody from 31 years of experience is, listen, Alaska is the #1 destination in the world, and it has been almost the whole time we've been in business. #1 or #2 for satisfaction. It's just amazing. And about the only complaints Mimi and I have ever had when it comes to Alaska is either the client did not stay long enough and they wish they would have, or they bought an inside stateroom and they wished they would have had a balcony or a suite or something. And you do have to remember, it's a short season, so it'll start in mid-May or thereabouts and go to mid-September or thereabouts. And there's a lot of light, sometimes up to 20 hours worth of daylight. And then it doesn't, especially if you're up in Fairbanks or Denali Park, my gosh, it doesn't hardly get dark, it just gets dusk. I've been up there 16 times. I know Alaska really well. My staff knows Alaska really well. We've had almost everybody up there. We know all the options. Abe is always around helping us learn about the new things that Royal Caribbean is offering. And this is going to be very informative webinar. And I tell you, it's a perfect family reunion destination. We think we're going to be seeing a lot of that. There's a lot of groups that like to go internationally or to the out of the country. Well, I think this coming year, you're going to see a lot of people take groups, incentive groups that will be in Alaska. So lots going on. But one thing I can tell you for sure is the popularity of Alaska is going to be tremendous, and availability is not going to be that good. And as availability, it's the old economic thing. As availability goes down, supply goes down, the price goes up. Demand goes, demand is there, the supply goes down, the price goes up. So think through that. And if you're the type that like to have suites or like to have balconies, that's what everybody wants right now. So you better act fast. I think that's very important. We can also help you with the options, whether you start in Seattle or whether you start in Vancouver or whether you start in Anchorage, with pre and post packages there. We can help you with those tours. And again, I sure recommend, gosh, take the time, spend your kids' inheritance, take the time and see as much as you can see while you're there. So with that said, Mr. Abe Hughes, hey, where's that I run this ship, Abe? Come on, show that. Do you have that?
I've got this sign. It's right there.
Abe's mother got that for him when he was the cruise manager on Royal Caribbean cruise ships for 13 years. And he said he liked that sign a lot. He just didn't think the captain and the hotel manager would like it quite as well. So Abe, hey, let me you're going to run this webinar now. You'll run the ship. Now you get to run the webinar. So let me turn it over to you, and I'll talk to everybody when we get back.
Hey, thanks so much, Mark. I appreciate that. And a very good evening, everyone. It's great to have you on. First and foremost, I do want to thank the wonderful Mark and Mimi Comfort and the entire team at Cruise Holidays of Kansas City. You know, at Royal Caribbean, we strongly believe that an incredible vacation experience really does start with great travel partners, especially in a world with endless options and reviews and opinions. It can be somewhat overwhelming to find that perfect vacation for you and your loved ones. And the team at Cruise Holidays of Kansas City, they really act as your value interpreter and your vacation curator. And using the team's expertise, especially in a destination like Alaska, they're going to be able to find those amazing experiences that match you and your traveling group, to meet your adventurous desires, to meet your budget requirements, and of course, just deliver that peace of mind. And you can be confident that your vacation is going to be perfectly planned, you're hassle-free, and really filled with those moments that you'll never forget. Now, just a little bit about me, and if you see my eyes going over back and forth, I do have a couple of screens working with me here today. Now, I have been in the Royal Caribbean family for just over 17 years now, with the majority of my time working on board our ships as a cruise director. And as many places that I've sailed, Alaska is a destination that I always looked forward to returning to. And believe me, I truly believe that once you have the time to sail Alaska, it will honestly give you a perspective of the world that we live in. So tonight, I want to take a chance to talk about the coastline of Alaska you're going to see on board a Royal Caribbean ship, along with the opportunity to explore the interior of Alaska with a Royal Caribbean cruise tour. Now, talking about Alaska, we all know intellectually that Alaska is the largest state. But to cover Alaska in the lower 48, you can actually truly see how massive she really is. As a matter of fact, if you split Alaska into two, it would still be the first and second largest state, with Texas coming in at number 3. So when we travel Alaska, we need to consider how we see what we want to see, and how we can experience what we want to experience with Alaska as the destination. So first and foremost, one of my strongest recommendations is start bucketing out a list of what you want out of your Alaska experience. Typically speaking, there are 4 things that we all really want to see. Number 1, of course, is wilderness. Now, really, if you think about wilderness, wilderness is a feeling. You know, it's a sense of separation from the people, the hustle and bustle of everyday life, and really being surrounded by the wilderness of Alaska, not just on our 7-night Royal Caribbean cruise tour, or a Royal Caribbean cruise, but also venturing along the Kenai Peninsula, exploring Denali National Park and various areas on the interior of Alaska. So there's wilderness, and there's, of course, the wildlife. Now, along the southeast coastline on a cruise, it's amazing. You're going to be seeing, migrating humpback whales and orcas and sea lions and bald eagles and puffins, as Mark talked about earlier. But on the interior of Alaska, that's where you're going to venture and find what we call the Big Five, and that's the moose, the caribou, the grizzly, the Dolph sheep, and of course wolves. Now, the next category, of course, is mountains. And sailing the inside passage in the shoreline, it will give you incredible sea to sky views as the ship navigates through the winding archipelago. But the mountain, when most people think of Alaska, is Denali, formerly Mount McKinley. It is the tallest peak in North America at over 20,000 feet and still growing. And when you get those views of Denali, they do take your breath away. And then the 4th item, of course, is glaciers. Now, glaciers are going to be part of your cruise experience. And I'm sure that you've heard many names in the past, such as Endicott Arms or Dawes Glacier, Tracy Arm and Sawyer Glacier, Hubbard Glacier, Glacier Bay. These are all glacial areas along the coastline. They're all very beautiful in their own unique way, each one of them having dramatic formations and so on and so forth. But the one glacier that is really one of the most dramatic of them all, and some may even say romantic of them all, is Hubbard Glacier. Now, Hubbard Glacier itself, from a technical standpoint, it is the largest advancing tidewater glacier. So where other glaciers are receding, Hubbard Glacier is actually advancing to the tune of about 30 meters per day. Well, what does that mean? Well, it creates what we call calving. And these are cliffs of ice that crash down into the ocean. And that's why native Alaskans call this white thunder. The face itself is 7 miles wide. The ice goes hundreds of feet above the ocean, hundreds of feet below the ocean. And as the national park rangers narrate the experience, as the captain slowly turns the ship, it's truly an amazing day. But so is Endicott Arm, and so is Tracy Arm, and so are all the other glacial experience in their own unique ways. But that is going to be part of your Alaska vacation experience. So as we move forward, let's keep in mind some of those must-dos as we talk about our fleet sailing here in Alaska, and really communicate those must-dos and must-haves along with the travel advisors there at Cruise Holidays, and they'll be able to, again, put you on the path to the best Alaska experience imaginable. So coming up here in 2021, we have 4 ships sailing in Alaska. We have the Ovation of the Seas and Quantum of the Seas, which are some of the largest and most innovative ships sailing in Alaska. Ovation and Quantum really will bring out the adventure in everyone. There are so many of the different features that are on board the ship, including the onboard amenities like the iFly skydiving simulator and the Seaplex, which is the largest indoor sports facility at sea with bumper cars and roller skating and trapeze and so many other things. We have the Solarium, which is an indoor adults only area, the Bionic Bar, the Flow Rider, where you can hang 10 right there in the middle of Alaska. And the Quantum class ships are truly built for an all-weather or sometimes a cold weather destinations because there's so many interior spaces such as that Seaplex and all the entertainment spaces that are out there available. I'll talk about 270 in a second. It's amazing. The North Star, for example, is an observation pod. It's the architectural model, which the North Star takes you over 400 feet above the ocean for some of the most incredible views of any ship at sea. The entertainment on board the Ovation of the Seas and Quantum of the Seas is incredible with Broadway-style production shows. Back in 270, which is what we would consider a living room by day and an entertainment space by night. Sonic Odyssey is one of the shows on board Quantum of the Seas, Star Water, aerial feats on stage, in the air, all the way throughout. It's amazing. And when it comes to specialty dining, it's all about options on board the Quantum class ships with areas such as Fish and Chips, Chops Grill Steakhouse, Azumi's Steakhouse, Jamie's Italian Wonderland, you name it, the options are endless. And including the accommodations, of course. I do want to make a mention of accommodations because the most sought after, of course, are going to be your ocean view balcony staterooms and your suites. But even on Quantum class ships, the Quantum and Ovation, they even have an interior stateroom with a virtual balcony. That's an 80-inch high definition plasma screen that you can actually have a live look of what's happening outside. Now, personally recommend it. Ocean view balcony stateroom, see it for yourself. But just note that even the interior staterooms have a view. It's quite amazing. And then the other 2 ships we have are going to be the Serenade of the Seas as well as the Radiance of the Seas. Now, these 2 ships themselves are part of the Radiance class ship, and they are truly built and designed for scenic cruising in a small ship style, only around 2,100 passengers or so at its full capacity. These are ships that are affectionately known as the ships of light, with floor-to-ceiling windows in virtually all the public spaces. Everywhere you walk, you're going to be having a beautiful view outside, and of course, along with your beautiful ocean view staterooms. Now, along with the floor-to-ceiling windows, there is even a 9-story glass atrium with outward-facing glass elevators. So even when you're in the elevator, you can have a view of the beautiful areas and of looking outside. There's the adults only, of course, solarium for indoor swimming. We've got a beautiful atrium, all the amenities and entertainment that Royal Caribbean is known for, and of course the award-winning Adventure Ocean program on all of our ships for even the families and the kids. They'll have a great time. Now, when it comes to itineraries and coming to Alaska, I'm going to skip on over a little bit of the ship experience because destination itself is Alaska. And when it comes to itineraries, Alaska is not like the Caribbean or like Europe with dozens and dozens of ports of call. There will be a variation of itineraries, primarily speaking with the main ports of call, which is Juneau, Alaska, Ketchikan, and Skagway, Alaska, Icy Strait Point, and some of our itineraries will even stop off at the charming and delightful port city of Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, along with, of course, all those glacial experiences. So talking about one area which you'll be enjoying on your vacation, it's technically a day at sea, but it's actually cruising the Inside Passage. And cruising the Inside Passage is unlike any sailing the open ocean, if you will. You'll be cruising this Inside Passage, which is incredibly close to nature and all of the natural landscape of Alaska. With very calm waters, the captain will navigate you through nature, and it's really not uncommon to be viewing humpback whales and orcas and bald eagles and other marine life as you sail along the Inside Passage. Juneau, Alaska is the capital of Alaska. It was founded during the gold rush in 1880, and it has now become one of the greatest whale watching destinations in the world. And it's nestled at the foot of Mount Juneau, and the former gold mining town itself features some of the most spectacular scenery and several magnificent fjords along the Channel Coast, plus the very popular Mendenhall Glacier, which is always a cruise favorite. And that's a glacier that you don't actually sail to, you can take a bus to it because it's available and accessible by land. Now, the next port of call, which is very popular, is Ketchikan. Now, Ketchikan is not only the salmon capital of the world, but it's also the totem pole capital. And much of this town's colorful passes is still evident today. There are very scenic and historical places to take in, including one of my favorite spots, which is called Creek Street, where it's a basically wood planked street, overlooks the rushing river, and even during the June salmon run, it's not uncommon to see some salmon spawning right there in the creek. Skagway, Alaska is really like stepping foot onto an old movie set of an old Western. And plus one of the most unforgettable experiences you'll have is when you hop on board the White Pass Railway and journey aboard what they call the scenic railway of the world. And the ride itself will navigate you on vintage rail cars, and you'll retrace the original route to White Pass Summit. Now, Icy Strait Point, Alaska, is very well known for being one of the best spots for fishing and whale watching. It's also home to one of the largest native Alaskan populations. They're in adjacent village called Hoona. Now, Hoona itself, I love Hoona going there. And if you ever need to pick anything up mid-cruise, they do have a small general store servicing the community. But the general store itself has a very simple slogan. It says it right out on the front. It says, if we don't have it, you don't need it. Now, these are the type of cultural enriching experiences that you'll find around every corner of Alaska. And of course, many of those stops will be in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada as well, with this just an absolutely beautiful city indeed. Now, one of the misconceptions that a lot of people have is that every day in Alaska is an expensive day. Well, certain shore excursions can be a little bit more than others. Things like flight seeing or taking a helicopter onto a glacier. Those are some of the higher dollar excursions, but also note that many, if not the majority, all have affordable shore excursions at little to no cost at all. Things like hiking and going around the town and just enjoying and taking in the scenery that is Alaska. There's active adventures, there's relaxing adventures. And again, this is where the team at Cruise Holidays of Kansas City is going to be able to take that bucket list and really mark them out in order to give you that incredible Alaska experience, because the team has been there, they've experienced it, and they'll be able to put you on the right path. Now, each of these ships that I spoke about is a 7-night itinerary that will offer many of those must-dos and those must-sees from the southeastern coastline of Alaska. On the ships, you'll have the glacier viewing, you'll have the marine life, you're going to have your wilderness journeys. But when it comes to the ultimate Alaska experience, and to give you the opportunities to view what we call the Big Five, remember that's the moose, the caribou, the grizzly bear, the Dove sheep, and the wolves, the best chance to view Denali, you'll need to consider combining your 7-night Royal Caribbean cruise along with a Royal Caribbean cruise tour to the interior of Alaska. See the southeastern coastline, that's where we're going to be sailing all the way through, starting in Vancouver or Seattle, the Inside Passage, Ketchikan, Juneau, Skagway, Icy Strait Point, the glacier experiences, and so on and so forth. But again, combining it and taking into the interior of Alaska on that Royal Caribbean Cruise Tour, that's where that ultimate experience is going to be coming through. So Royal Caribbean Cruise Tours themselves are a fully escorted experience with a local tour guide, meaning someone who comes from Alaska, lives in Alaska, and has a deep connection with that great state. Now, what is the Royal Caribbean difference? Well, let me do a little small compare and contrast. Now, the industry standard can best be described as a representative structured experience. So, for example, when you come in from the ship or fly in from the airport, you'll be greeted by a cruise line representative. And in the morning, a new representative would guide you to the bus that would take you to their destination. And this will be one of many buses going to many destinations. The driver would also double up as a narrator, and this process would renew to each destination with new drivers, new buses, new representative, etc. Now, the Royal Caribbean difference, which is incredibly something that we're very, very proud of, and is one of the reasons why we are the highest rated cruise tour company in Alaska, is that when you fly into the interior of Alaska, up into Fairbanks or Anchorage, you're going to be greeted by our dedicated adventure specialist, who will introduce you to your dedicated motor coach driver. The driver will then escort you to your dedicated deluxe motor coach, and that will be your experience for the duration of your 2 to 6 night Alaska cruise tour. Your adventure specialist and the motor coach driver will be with you every single step of the way. And I'm sure that you've all experienced in the past when you go to a city that you have a lot to figure out. You have to figure out where to eat, where to stay, what to do. But if you go to a city and you're greeted by somebody from the city to show you around, whether it's a family member, a friend, or just a wonderful tour guide, that experience is so much more. And for our Alaska adventure specialists to share their passion of the state with you, it really does give you that unsurpassed service and that excellent overall vacation experience that you all deserve. We use, when it comes to accommodations, the highest rated and most ideally located properties available. We choose the hotels themselves based on their accessibility to the most iconic features of the interior of Alaska, and they will give you that warmth and that passion of a local resident, of Alaska residents and business owners really welcoming you into their community. Now, a few of the destinations that we're talking about, and this is going into a Alaska cruise tour, combining the interior of Alaska. We do this by 2 different ways, essentially. There is the Radiance of the Seas, which sails northbound from Vancouver, going north to Seward. You get off the ship in Seward, you do a 2 to 6 night land tour, and then you fly home from either Anchorage or Fairbanks, Alaska. Or you do the opposite. You fly into Anchorage or Fairbanks, you do your 2 to 6 night cruise tour, then you get on the ship in Seward and you sail southbound down to Vancouver, and that's where you'll depart from there. So there's a couple of different ways to do it. Now, some of the stops along an Alaska cruise tour, the destinations themselves, for example, one of which is going to be Talkeetna. Okay, Talkeetna is a small village with a very quaint main street. It's lined with vintage buildings, pioneer heritage, and it really has the reputation of being one of the funkiest places in the state. And actually, you'll probably notice or remember Talkeetna from that great show from the 90s, Northern Exposure. That is based in the film, filmed in Talkeetna, Alaska. So where we'll be staying in Talkeetna is going to be the Talkeetna Alaska Lodge. It has amazing views of Denali, surrounded by walking trails and hiking trails with some of the most iconic scenery in the state. And it's also the only property to have these sweeping views and direct access to the town of Talkeetna with just a 5-minute complimentary shuttle ride away. At Alyeska, Alaska, the Hotel Alyeska is a luxurious retreat. It's based at the base of Mount Alyeska. The amenities include a 4-diamond restaurant, full spa, saltwater pool, mountain views, and more. Denali Park Village is set on a 20-acre private wooded area right next to a river rushing by with outdoor fire pits for you to enjoy. And additional destinations such as Seward, Alaska, which is the gateway to the Kenai Fjords. And you can explore the Kenai Peninsula, which is a very rich ecosystem with wildlife. And you'll very quickly see why they call the Kenai Peninsula the Alaska's playground, if you will. Along with, of course, destinations such as Anchorage, Alaska, and Fairbanks, rounding out an entire Alaskan cruise experience, taking you to the interior. Now, every cruise tour that Royal Caribbean does offers two incredible experiences within. Number one, of course, is every tour has a visit to Denali National Park that's included in that cruise tour. Now, Denali National Park is over 6 million acres. It's larger than the state of Massachusetts. And the Denali National Park itself is actually just a single road, one road in and one road out. And at Denali, basically there's many different tours and various names of the tours. And essentially those names of the tours are going to tell you how far into Denali you will go. The further you go, whether it's a mile marker 30, 62, the full mile marker down to 89, the more opportunities you'll have to experience those natural wonders of Alaska. So the further you go in, the more opportunities you're going to have. Now, it is very important to know that the only people allowed to take you into the national park is the National Park Service. Now, we at the cruise lines with our deluxe motor coaches, unfortunately, we are not allowed to bring you into the national park. And because they are the National Park Service, you will be cruising in these incredibly awesome forest green 1970s school buses that will take you in and out of the park. And guess what? You will probably have more fun on this 1970s school bus than you would have on our deluxe motor coach. No, it's an amazing experience. It's incredible days to have. And what's the most important is the passion that the park rangers have and the knowledge that they have and the love for the park. And they just want to share that all with you. And I tell you, Denali is incredible. And the second experience that every cruise tour is going to experience is going to be a rail experience on the Wilderness Express. Now, there is one rail line that goes from Seward up to Fairbanks, and it's operated by the Alaska Railroad. Now, the Wilderness Express is our luxury train with luxury leather seating, very well apportioned, domed roofs, sweeping views up and down as you cruise along, approximately 40 seats up top. Down below, there's a white linen restaurant with dining available from a curated chef that's on board the train. And every Royal Caribbean cruise tour has that wild and amazing rail experience. And some of the cruise tours will not just have one leg on the Wilderness Express, but they might have two or even three. Now, sometimes what happens, what you're considering, or when you're trying to consider what to do, there are many options. There's like 12 different options when it comes to cruise tours, and that's a lot, and it can be intimidating to look through. There are various options and destinations, and the first thing that you really need to communicate with the travel counselors at Cruise Holidays, and the most important thing that you need to consider is really time. Now, time itself is all about opportunities in Alaska. And I can say this until I'm blue in the face, but Alaska, it's not Disney, okay? You cannot stand in line for 75 minutes and at the front of the line, a bear is gonna appear at the front of the line. Alaska is the quintessential natural experience. When you experience Denali National Park, you are witnessing the opportunity for the clouds to rise from the mountain, the opportunity to see bears and the wildlife. And the longer that you're there, the more opportunities you're going to have to give yourself for these natural opportunities to occur. So being there is the first step, and witnessing the last frontier, whether it is on a 7-night Royal Caribbean cruise, cruise only, or taking that ultimate experience and doing not just a 7-night Caribbean cruise, but a Royal Caribbean cruise, but also combining that with that Alaska cruise tour. There really is no better way than the highest rated land and cruise tour company, which is Royal Caribbean, which we're very, very excited about. And we welcome you on board very, very soon. Now, a couple of things that people often ask when it comes to cruising Alaska. And number one is oftentimes, what do I pack and does it get cold? Now, when it comes to Alaska, I can tell you one thing that you don't need to wear and don't need to pack, and that's this right here, okay? Alaska itself is not 40 below every single day, not at all. As a matter of fact, summer in Alaska and the variation of the temperatures themselves, it's all about layers. That's right, layers. Fancy cruise clothes, you go in one suitcase, leave that on the bus during the cruise tours. In Alaska, no casual is too casual, let me tell you. And it's all about dressing in layers because in the morning it might be a little chilly. And then as the day goes on, it warms up. I have been in Alaska in the months of May and it's been 80 degrees. I have been there in July and it's been 55 degrees. So it all varies when it comes to your weather. And remember, the southeast coastline itself, you're going to be sailing through Tongass National Rainforest, which is the largest natural rainforest in North America. So it is going to rain, but we always say in Alaska that there is no such thing as bad weather, just bad preparation of clothing. So it's all about layers. And this particular model that is here, you can tell that he's actually not from Alaska because there's no duct tape on his coat, but that's okay. So it's all about layers, all right? The next area, it's one of the most common questions to ask. And again, this is where you communicate with your travel counselors there at Cruise Holidays. And that's, what is the best month to sail? Alaska is a short season. It's middle of May through early to middle of September. So you don't have a lot of time. And some folks, they'll say, oh, you gotta go in July and you gotta go in August and that's it. Number one, it depends on your time and your schedule. There is really no bad time to go to Alaska, but a couple things that oftentimes people consider is, number one, in the spring, in the earlier months itself, the foliage is beginning to bloom. And there's oftentimes a little bit easier wildlife viewing because the foliage isn't grown quite as large. And I say this because this is actually a picture of my wife up in Alaska. When I say foliage getting large, look at that leaf. It is the size of her torso, and that's how large things grow. That picture was taken there in July. But imagine at the beginning of the season when those leaves are a little bit smaller, it's a little bit easier to spot wildlife in some of these areas. So you see how things grow. So with 23, 24 hours of daylight in some cases. And don't forget the crab legs. This has nothing to do with the tour, but when you're up there, you have to have the Alaska king crab. They're literally the size of an arm. It's amazing. So in the summer months, oftentimes you do get that summer solstice where Mark kind of alluded to that. You're sitting in Anchorage, you're sitting up in Fairbanks, and you watch the sunset below the horizon and just pop back up a few minutes later. It's quite amazing. June, of course, is the salmon runs. Late summer and late fall, you've got that fall foliage and better chances, not always, but better chances of viewing the northern lights. And to view the northern lights, just note that northern lights are always there, but much easier to see in the winter months, which that's not a good time to cruise. But late in the season, September-wise, all the way far north as you can get, those are your best opportunities to see things like the aurora borealis, okay? Before I do turn it back over to Mark and Mimi, I do want to just say, I know 2020 has been a challenging year for everyone, and we appreciate the team at Cruise Holidays for what they do, and they're just such a big part on why Royal Caribbean continues to lead the industry. There's no better people to trust in booking your cruise vacation than the travel counselors there at Cruise Holidays. You're not paying any extra. As a matter of fact, Cruise Holidays team, they have some incredible offers available with specific sailing dates that they've set aside with not just incredible rates for 2021, but they're also unbelievable, like additional onboard credits, various benefits, and of course what we all love, and that's the top-notch service that they're going to provide and what of course that you deserve. And many of you are also having future cruise credits from a vacation that maybe unfortunately got canceled for 2020 and you're waiting to rebook, and this is an amazing opportunity to do so. We're looking forward to welcoming you back in the not too distant future. And again, but because of all of you, and because of course the incredible service that Cruise Holidays has, is one of the reasons why we have not only been voted the best cruise line in the Caribbean, but best cruise line overall for 17 consecutive years. So a few little awards to close things out there. Mark, Mimi, I'm going to send it back to you. How was that?
Well, I think that was great. I got to tell you, every time I watch those and see these pictures of Alaska, it brings back memories. And a lot of what you were saying about the cruise tours, Abe, that you have in your ship specifically too. This is still a great destination for people that have been to Alaska before and might want to go back again. Going up into Kenai or going to Alyeska. I've been to both those places and they're spectacular, but not every cruise line has options to go to those two places.
Mhm.
And Abe, we didn't have a chance to talk about going into the Canadian Rockies from Vancouver, either before or after, depending on if it ends up in Vancouver or starts in Vancouver. I love those Canadian Rockies. Oh my gosh almighty, going to Banff and Lake Louise and Jasper, Kamloops, absolutely spectacular. Again, maybe if you've been to Denali Park, been to Anchorage in that area in Alaska, northern Alaska. Maybe you have not been to the Canadian Rockies out of the Vancouver area or up to Whistler. We can help you with any and all of those options. And again, Abe, I'm so glad you said it when you said the number one line overall 17 years. That says so much for Royal Caribbean. And for 31 straight years, Mimi and I, well, there was one year, our first year, sorry, Abe. So for 30 out of 31 years, we at Cruise Holidays have sold more Royal Caribbean cruises than anybody. And we sell all sorts of numbers of cruises with Royal Caribbean up to Alaska. And they do it right, just like Abe said. They absolutely do it right. And mom and dad or grandma and grandpa, if it's a family reunion or family going there, you saw all the things that there are to do on a Royal Caribbean ship. So that's the other thing. Mimi and I and our staff can help match you up with which is right, which ship is right for you, which has the options that's best for your family. And that has to do with accommodations as well as anything. And then Abe, to your point, my gosh, nobody has better entertainment than you all do. And there's something for everybody. And this era of social distancing, if people want smaller dining rooms, there are all sorts of smaller dining rooms and room service. But my strongest recommendation is Mimi and I both believe Alaska is going to be just a record year, and we believe it will be sold out by February, March at the very, very latest. So if you, unless you like those inside staterooms with that, what did you say, 8-inch plasma TV? I
Yeah,
think that's
the
marvelous.
virtual balcony, which is interesting, but it doesn't quite match up to the real thing. And Mark, I just want to just make another mention of the space that you all have and the
Yes.
buying power that Cruise Holidays has with travel leaders. You all have some, and I looked at some of the rates and the starting froms, and you all have some great specials going on. And as the prices are going up, the inventory is limited. So I highly recommend contacting the travel counselors there and taking advantage, because there's some not just great rates, but also those extra perks that go along with it.
And that means a lot because as prices go up, we have some guaranteed space that will save you a lot of money, and we can help you with what's the best time of the year to go based on what you want to see and do, that sort of thing. We know about all the tours. We know the popular ones, and we know the ones that a lot of people don't know much about. And we can tell you, hey, one of my favorite things to tell people to do is in Skagway, and it's absolutely 100% free, and I guarantee you'll love it. But I'm not going to tell it to you till you book with us. So that's a little bit of the knowledge that we have about that area. We can also share some places, Abe, like the Red Dog Saloon in Juneau that I
Oh
think is kind
yeah.
of a must see, don't you?
Absolutely. And you mentioned just all of the adventures that are had. You've been up to Alaska, you said 16 times. I've been there, I don't know how many. Granted, I was working on a ship. I don't think I ever had two port experiences or two cruises that were the same. And aside from going to the Red Dog Saloon, that may repeat itself. But even if you've been to Alaska, There is, and again, this is where maybe the first go around you did all the just the popular things that you may have read that, top thing to do in one of the ports of call. No, no, no. That's when you go a second time, a third time, and many people have gone over and over again. And that's where the travel counselors and your team does an amazing job of, okay, you've been to Alaska before, you've done X, Y, and Z. Have you ever thought about doing this? And it's a whole new adventure. It's a whole new experience. And that's why that's one of the values, one of the many, many values of using a travel counselor. And Alaska, I tell you, it really is a place that you just, once you go, you want to go back and you want to go back and you want to go back again.
Exactly. And by the way, that's exactly what happens. We used to say the first maybe 10 years in business that Alaska is a once in a lifetime destination. We don't say that anymore because we literally have people go there every year, every season. And sometimes for a much needed getaway, sometimes just get out of the heat of the summer. But the one thing you will do is anytime you go to Alaska is there's something special. Abe, seeing those mountains, like you say, I mean, not only Mount McKinley and Denali National Park, but the mountains all along the way. You showed some great pictures there in Juneau and Ketchikan and Skagway. They're just breathtaking. You know, they call Alaska the last great frontier, and they do that for a reason. In many parts of Alaska, there are more caribou than there are people. So that's, if you want a social distance, I cannot think of any place better than Alaska. And the other thing I want you to know is you cannot, I mean, we have a lot of people that drive RVs up there and fly to Anchorage and go do fishing trips and things like that, and that's perfectly fine. But you miss so much when you don't go, you don't see that inside passage. You don't see
Oh,
places
yeah.
like Juneau. And Abe, you know as well as anybody, Juneau is the only capital city in America that you can't get to by car. You have to fly
It's
in or you have to take a
it's a
boat in.
boat or a boat or a plane. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. I think the main road in Ketchikan is 22 miles long.
Yeah.
That's it.
And the one road in and out of Skagway will take you to Canada. So
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And by the way, there's so many of these tours that we can tell you to do, and you can't do them all. There's no doubt about it, unless you go again and again and again. And as Abe said, that's why so many people go back again and again and again. So many of you who like to do things like these helicopter trips or the dog mushing or the flight planes to Misty Fjord and Ketchikan, those are world-class experiences. But they sell out because there's limited availability. So we can help you with all the best tours, the must-see tours if you're on a little bit more of a budget, because some of those flight planes, like you said, Abe, can be very, very expensive. And some people, obviously, a lot of people want to do it, but not everybody does. So we can help you with that. And again, what time of the year to go? That's maybe one of the biggest questions people ask of us. And we sit down with everybody and we go through that question, time of the year. But the one thing we do recommend, like you said so much, is to spend as much time as you can, both from a time point and a financial budgeting point. You will not be disappointed. Again, like I say, the only complaints Mimi and I get are the people that took the inside cabins and didn't get to see all of the beautiful sights in Alaska. So that's why the balconies sell out so quick. And the second complaint we get, and it's not really a complaint, it's just I wished I would have spent more time while I was there. The airfare is X number of dollars anyway. The more time you spend there, the more that depreciates out the price of the air on a per day basis. So
yeah.
you'll never regret it. And I'm so glad, Abe, we just love Royal Caribbean. The one thing about your line that you know better than anybody, because you've been cruise director on the ships for so long, and you've been to all these destinations, but you know good and well, like I know, and like most everybody that's cruised on Royal Caribbean knows, is Royal Caribbean does it right. And people get what they pay for, don't they, Abe?
It's the best combination between energy and quality. A lot of ships have quality, lacking a little energy. A lot of ships have the energy, the party, but may lack on the quality side. And we are just that perfect combination between the two. And it's funny talking about, this particular presentation, and we've done these in the past. And oftentimes a full presentation, I would be talking 90% about the ships and a little bit about the destinations. And it's a little bit the opposite of this particular presentation, because Alaska itself is the destination. But note that the ships, although I only talked about them for a short amount of time, the ships themselves are absolutely brilliant. And the nice thing, even though we have, Caribbean is our middle name, Royal Caribbean International, we sail to all these destinations. And that's one of the best things. People fall in love with cruising, oftentimes with us down in the Caribbean. But when you sail these various destinations, you're not only sailing an incredible experience and different, adventures, whether it's Alaska or Europe or Australia and so on and so forth, but you're doing it on a Royal Caribbean ship. So it's one of those best of both worlds with the, award-winning entertainment and the world-class service and the all the way across the board. It's a special experience, and Alaska itself, I can't wait to get back. I really can't. And oh, one other thing, let me just tell you, because I had this thought, because today was a beautiful day here in Kansas City. It was high in the 70s. It really was gorgeous. But I just looked back to about a couple weeks ago, last week, when the heat index was 100 degrees. Imagine booking an Alaska vacation. You live here in the Midwest. It's 90 degrees for 12 straight days, and you fly up to Fairbanks and you're greeted by 62-degree weather. Oh, doesn't that that is just the best.
Well, I saw the picture of your wife with the fleece sleeveless sweater vest, and that's one of the things we recommend highly, because you're right. Weather, they have a saying around here: if you don't like the weather, wait a day. They have a saying up in Alaska: if you don't like the weather, wait an hour. So
Yeah.
you do have to be prepared, and that's one of the things we'll help you with. Hey, Abe, one other thing I want to tell everybody is that the other experience that I think is just a must see or must do experience, and that's when you do the land tour up into Denali Park, up back all the way to Fairbanks, whatever it might be. That Wilderness Express train experience is second to none, isn't it?
It really is. And we've not only is it an incredible experience to begin with, but the upkeep and the furbishment and everything else, it's like a brand new experience every time you board. And with the sweeping views and the domed roof, and it's all encompassing. And it's between the Wilderness Express and honestly that connection with nature,
Mhm.
um, and people just literally staring at Denali and taking those little hikes. Those seem to always be the top experiences that are there.
I'll tell you what, you guys are known for your zip lines. One of the best zip lines in all of the world is in Icy Strait. I've done that, and that's crazy. So, Abe, there's thrills or you can chill, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like we can in the islands.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, you just wear some more clothes up there. That's all.
the main thing, and this is something that, I guess we haven't really touched on much, but just talking about Alaska as an experience, Alaska used to be, and you'll kind of remember this, Alaska used to be a destination that you would go once for your 50th anniversary.
Mhm.
And that was kind of, okay, check it off the list. More and more, especially on the Royal Caribbean ships, we have such an energy-filled guest clientele that we may be celebrating our 50th anniversary, might be celebrating our 5th anniversary, and everything in between, where the energy is there. And the today's generations of cruisers are much more active. Forget the age, it's all about that active environment and keeping, it's the young at heart that just continue to go and go. And it's one of those things that we don't want you to wait simply because you think you have to. No, you do it, and it's, like I said, a destination that you might be doing an Alaska cruise in the summer and a Caribbean cruise in the winter, and you're sandwiching your two cruises a year right there. And that's how I do it.
Well, however you want to do it, those of you watching, I recommend give us a call and let us help you. It is a destination that there are so many options that it really does. I mean, it makes all the difference in the world, like Abe said, to have somebody that has the firsthand experience, that has the pricing that we have on a lot of these sailings that just can't be beat. And we can help you. There's so much that we can do. It doesn't cost you more. In many cases, it costs you less. So give us a call. We're open. Well, we'll be open for you. Right now is a little bit different time, but 816-505-1500, 505-1500. You can also go to our website, cruiseholidayskc.com. And by the way, this webinar will be on our website. So Nicole Busenbark, God bless her, she puts it on the website, a link, and we go to YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. If you want to have friends or family watch it again, you can do that. Abe, you did a great job. Any last minute words of wisdom?
No, we just thank you all so much. We're looking forward to getting back out sailing in the not too distant future, and especially this next season in Alaska, because the entire summer of Alaska season has been, essentially canceled. And this next season is going to be even more popular than ever. And take advantage of what the team at Cruise Holidays has, because that's how we're going to get in. Let's just say that.
Well, it is, and we expect, like I said, if you tuned in a little late, I told everybody in the beginning before you started, Abe, that I just am 100% sure Alaska is going to be sold out by February, end of February at the latest, if not before that, because of all the people with the future cruise credits, all the people that are more comfortable going to Alaska than they are somewhere else. And I tell you, it's going to be huge, and you're going to see prices go up really quickly. So I'd urge you to make decisions as soon as you can. If you're a little nervous about making a decision now, we've got that cancel for any reason insurance we can offer you. There's many different ways we can help you feel comfortable or have peace of mind about making a vacation decision for wherever it is and whenever it is you want to go. We hope it's with Royal Caribbean to Alaska or to wherever, and we hope obviously it's through us at Cruise Holidays and Comfort Tours and Travel. It's voting season. We want to earn your vote for who you use for your next vacation. Abe, you've earned our vote, so thanks so much. We appreciate all you do for us. I mean that publicly, and I want everybody to hear that, because you work so hard and you help us know everything going on, all the changes, all the updates, where to get the best prices, all the great group deals that we put together with you. So thank you very, very much for that, and we appreciate you a lot.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mimi, because I'm sure she's listening over your shoulder somewhere. And thanks to the whole team at Cruise Holidays.
She's right over there.
Have a wonderful.
I'm glad the two dogs stayed quiet. So Abe, I guess I probably ought to put my mask back on and go watch replays of the Super Bowl. Okay.
Fantastic. Have a great night,
Thank
Mark.
you,
Thanks so
everybody,
much.
for watching. We appreciate that, and we will talk to you next week. Travel Tip Tuesday webinars. This is Mark Comfort Vacation Views. I shall see you and talk to you very soon. Bye bye. Not Vacation Views.